Alright, so today's movie review is The Jazz Singer from 1927, starring Al Jolson. And let me show you the critic list description. A young Jewish man is torn between tradition and individuality when his old-fashioned family objects to his career as a jazz singer. This is the first full-length feature film to use synchronized sound and is the original film musical. Alright, so this is a film I've watched a few times. I think it's more of a film you watch for the spectacle of it, for it being, one of the first films with synchronized sound and whatnot. Okay, so the plot, I give it a 3 out of 5. And the reason being, I thought the relationship between Al Jolson's character and that of his dad, I thought that was interesting. I just feel like it wasn't super strong, though. I thought the dynamic when he was a little kid was much more interesting than when he was adult. When he was adult, it was just Al Jolson. So I don't know. But I will say the best scene of the film is when he decides to sing in his father's place at the Jewish temple. I thought that was a beautiful scene. But other than that, I haven't been super into this plot. It has been done a million times, but this may have been one of the originators of this kind of story where, oh, my father doesn't understand, or family or whatever, but then at the end they kind of unite and reconcile and whatnot. And that is not just a film thing too, right? Many books and plays, but story-wise it's just okay. The main reason to watch this film is the historical part and the music part, and I'll get into that later on. But with that, the plot, a 3 out of 5. Okay, the acting, same 3 out of 5. Al Jolson, acting wise, I thought was fine. I think his strengths are his singing. Now, the entire film is not completely in sound. There's scenes where there is spoken dialogue, but they're for mostly the singing scenes. Most of the dialogue is done like in a silent film with title cards and whatnot, so it's not completely in sound. But yeah, Al Jolson is probably the best. I think the actors, for his parents are pretty good too. Overall acting, 3 out of 5. All right, let's move on to the set design. Look, 4 out of 5. I thought the set pieces looked really cool. I thought the different places they were at, like this is kind of like a bar, but then they also show the Jewish temple that they're in and whatnot. It's really well orchestrated and well put together. This is like the highlight of set design for sure in the beginning of like the big musical era. So I was very impressed with it. 4 out of 5. Okay, cinematography, just 3.5 out of 5. There's nothing super spectacular about the camera angles. You could definitely tell, because sound was brand new technology, right? You could definitely tell some of the scenes were a little limited in what they could do with it. They couldn't do crazy close-ups or anything like that, really, with the sound. But I will say there were some pretty well-shot moments. Like I said, the scene in the Jewish temple, the scene with him singing for the first time when he was a little kid, and even when he's an adult. Those are well-shot, well-put-together scenes. They kind of mirror each other. I thought that was pretty cool, but nothing crazy. 3.5 out of 5. Okay. Music, 4 out of 5. Now, there's one element of this film that I find to be interesting that I think is what most people focus on and why this film isn't talked about as much. That's, of course, because Al Jolson's character, he's, I think, in a minstrel show. So he's wearing blackface, right? He's got the wig, the makeup and whatnot, and he's singing jazz music. So that's an interesting element to the film because, ironically, in order to feel more connected to himself, he has to put on a mask. But it's not until he truly embraces, at the end of the film, singing the songs for his father and they reconcile, that's where he finally connects. These kind of shows are pretty common at the time. It's definitely not something you would see today at all. And if you're going into the film not knowing about that, but I'm pretty sure it kind of precedes people's notions of the film. you may be shocked, right, to see the blackface and whatnot. You know, I'm not going to make excuses for the era, but that's not for me to decide and tell, right? I'm just here to report on how it was like. This is just what went on back then, right? So I hope I'll understand why people won't want to watch the movie because of that, but also I think we could think critically and watch films like this and recognize, yeah, that's not something that would be done today, but at the same time, we can't just completely ignore it and pretend it never happened because that's just as bad, in my opinion. But anyways, the music is fantastic. I love this style of music, the jazz music and whatnot, and I think Al Jolson's a really great singer in general, and is definitely the highlight of the film for sure. Now, not every scene he's singing, he's in blackface. That's more towards the end of the film, but overall, I just think it's really interesting that when he finally connects with his father, it is through music, but it's when he sings the song in his father's behalf. Because I can't remember the title of it, but his dad is basically like the singer for the temple, and so when he takes the place of his father, again, that's the moment that they really bond together, and his father accepts him being a jazz singer. It's very, like I said, very common, but I think it's a beautiful moment in the film as well. So anyways, music, 4 out of 5. Okay, so that brings my score to 3.5 out of 5, which is a 70% on Criticalist. Now let me break down my Criticalist score. Graphic language, none. Like I said, there is dialogue, but most of it's for the singing scenes. It's not every single scene. Most of it's title cards. Violence, not really any. Nudity, sexual content, none. Political bias, none. Family friendly, I would say so, but you definitely have to, your mileage may vary, right? Especially with the blackface and whatnot. That's definitely not something you want to show a little kid, unless you're going to teach them what that was, right? I don't think everybody would show that, if that makes sense. But other than that, the music's great. It's harmless, right? But just keep that in mind when you're showing it to your kids. So entertainment value, I thought it was fairly entertaining. Again, the best parts to me are the singing and Al Jolson. The story itself is just okay. Overall, would I recommend this movie? Absolutely. For the historical fact alone of it being the first film that really popularized synchronized sound, it's definitely not the first one to do it. There have been several before. But it is the one that scared the heck out of Hollywood to kicking into gear, having sound in film. This is definitely the film that made people go, okay, we got to do this or we're going to fall behind. And then what's interesting, 100 years later, we're kind of experiencing a similar thing with AI and other tools that are being developed right now, streaming and whatnot. So Hollywood, every once in a while, goes through these kind of crazy cycles. So we'll see. Is this AI revolution? Is this streaming and YouTube and all that what we're doing here today, right? Is that going to kill the Hollywood industry? Or is that going to expand it? And that's an interesting thought, right? But yeah, every time I watch this movie, I think about how it's interesting how like every 50, 60 years or so, new technology comes out that threatens Hollywood. So we'll see if AI really, and streaming and all that, we'll see if that really is what kills it. I hope it doesn't, because I like film history. I like all of these movies. I like watching modern stuff too. But when you watch a lot of them and you're like, story's just okay, not great, you can kind of see why AI is being implemented. Like Disney, right? They already have it at their studio. It's only a matter of time before all of them have it. So I feel like they're going to adapt and use it, kind of like with sound, and a lot of jobs are going to go away, like with sound. But yeah, it's definitely going to shake up the industry, probably more so. But anyway, I 100% recommend this movie. It's not for the plot. It's for the historical fact of it and the music. I think the music is generally good too. But yeah, those are my thoughts overall on The Jazz Singer from 1927, and that concludes today's movie review.